we were talking about talent acquisition, and you talked about YouTube as using YouTube to basically
YouTube
get
and Facebook and other social media websites.
and basically to get your folks to put cover letters on YouTube. What's just a quick curious question? You know, I'm sure you came up a lot of funny YouTube applications. What's the funniest YouTube applications you've ever got?
You mean the funniest cover letter we got
Yeah,
on
the
YouTube?
funniest
Well,
cover
I'd
letter,
say it was one guy from Turkey who applied to our company using clips from the movie The Matrix and superimposing it with a dialogue between Neo and Trinity about his own awesomeness. It was creative, but it didn't really cut the mark.
Okay. You're based in Malaysia, which is very interesting. For companies of your sort of base themselves in the Silicon Valley. Why do you base yourself in Malaysia?
Well, we are an American company. Pretty much 70% of our customers are Americans. All our partners are in the US. Everything we do is American based. We started the company in New York, in Palo Alto. Mike was working in Palo Alto. I was working in New York. We started the company with just the two of us and my wife. But neither Mike or I, nor I, were Americans. He was German, I was Malaysian. And I decided to move back to Malaysia at a certain point with my wife, who's Estonian. And we moved back to Malaysia with Mindvalley for a couple of reasons. Number one, Malaysia is a low-cost environment. It's easier to run a company over here. Number two, my visa for the US ran out. So it was the legal thing to do. Mike came and joined us around 9 months back, and he ended up meeting his wife in Malaysia. And so Mindvalley was now firmly rooted in Malaysia. And we just started growing and growing and growing. But what we found was really interesting. With the internet, it doesn't really matter where you are. Now, I have to fly to the US a lot, but otherwise, with the internet, the fact that the majority of my clients, my business partners, our suppliers are all in America makes no difference to us. Everything is fully channeled through the internet. But the big advantage of Malaysia is that it's a fun city to be in. I mean, despite the fact that operating costs here are lower, the other great thing about Kuala Lumpur is it's a major touristic destination. So we are able to attract amazing talents from all around the world who want to come here just so, you know, they can fly to Bali once a month.
Leverage technology in HR to drive retention and engagement with your employees.
Now, we use these tools both to manage our team as well as to allow our team to work more efficiently. Let's take Facebook, for example. Now, a lot of people think Facebook is simply a social networking site where you exchange pictures with your friends, but that's not completely true. We actually use Facebook because Facebook has a feature called Groups. It allows you to collaborate by sharing videos, documents, discussions. We actually use Facebook internally among our employees to share, to carry out discussions and to share training videos and to share interesting educational material we find online. We've started creating Facebook groups to interact with our partners in the US to carry out discussions or to share, again, videos on particular projects that we are doing. So Facebook is one way. Companies don't realize this, but you can use a wiki to create an internal document on your company's operations. All our employees have access to the wiki and they are able to go in and document their individual job roles, document processes. So even when an employee leaves or a new person comes in, everything they need to know about their role or their processes or the way Mindvalley works is documented in that wiki. We started the wiki maybe a year ago. At this point, it's grown to around 2,000 pages. And of course, about 200 of these are highly critical pages that highlight specific processes or ideas or benchmarks that people in the company need to maintain. And
does Mindvalley do?
We are a publishing company. We are a publishing company. And we focus on working with personal development authors to help them get published in new media. So let's say someone who has a best-selling book on wealth management or some spiritual practice. Maybe around 2 decades ago, their only option would be to approach a big publisher and get a book out. Sometime in the 80s, 90s, they could experiment with CDs, sell CDs. But now, with the dawn of the Web 2.0 revolution, things have changed a bit. Now, there's a whole different area of publishing that has opened up, and that's using interactive websites, YouTube, streaming audio, podcasts, blogs, Facebook, interactive membership sites, interactive groups. That's what we do for authors. Now, just to give you an example, one of the authors we work with is a guy called Bert Goldman, who's based in Los Angeles, and he had a book out called The Power of Self-Mind Control. Now, it was self-published. He's a brilliant man, but getting a book out in the bestsellers list is highly competitive. Bert was selling maybe 100, 200 copies of his book. Now, working with Bert, we told him to stop selling the book And instead what we did was we took the knowledge from that book and we turned it into a series of videos, into a software, into online lessons and an interactive community site. And we took sales from 3,000 a month to 100, and this month it was 130,000 a month. And Bert, and a typical author who earns maybe 6 to 10% from a publisher, we pay 20%.
Okay.
So there's more revenue flowing in and the author gets more. So really what we're doing is we're pioneering a completely new type of publishing.
Yep. What advice would you give HR leaders, especially in terms of embracing technology? And
pay attention to the new services and websites that are coming out. You'll find that technology is changing at a ridiculously rapid pace.
Great.
When I'm traveling, I use Twitter to keep my staff informed of new developments or things I'm doing. Specifically, subscribe to the blog TechCrunch.
Okay.
It has about 1 million readers and it will keep you up to date or keep your HR people up to date on the latest new technologies being made available to businesses.
Okay.
Now the amazing thing is most of these technologies are being given away for free.
Okay.
Literally
Fantastic.
for free.
What advice would you give to a person starting out in his career?
First two businesses completely failed. And that mistake is not appreciating the importance of sales and marketing. No matter how good your product is, no matter how great your idea is, if you can't get people to buy it, you're going to fail. The reason Mindvalley was successful was because after my first two businesses failed, I was in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
This was 2001. The bubble exploded. All of a sudden, I remember April that month, 14,000 people ended up getting pink slips and being unemployed.
Yep.
And the only jobs available at that point, I was sending out my resume, the only job I could get was a commission-only sales gig. The economy was so bad, they weren't even paying a salary. If you couldn't sell, you couldn't eat. Commission only. So I started out as a computer engineer. I was forced into sales, and what happened was I learned so much about sales that 2 years later when I started Mindvalley, finally I was able to make it profitable in the first month because I mastered that art.
Okay.
Marketing and sales.
Fantastic. Thanks, Vishen. A large applause to Vishen Lakhiani.
Thank you.